So taking all that, there was all that pushback years ago on the small area games, which is actually really good, and people still want to play the full ice. That's fine, but it was actually a really good thing. So now when you say you're mandating, one was moving positions, so or not having positions. Okay, so Hockey Canada, and I don't know what they do in the States, but Hockey Canada is saying just play. Everyone should play a position with the exception of
Yes, like
goalie.
you rotate every game. Actually, I don't even know if maybe goalies. Goalie might be included in that too. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't want to play
Yeah,
if I'm a goalie. Yeah, so I think but
yeah.
maybe
I don't know.
maybe at the young ages, I think everyone tries it once. But I'm going to use two examples before I go into it. I would say so. Probably 10, 12 years ago, I had a guy playing in the OHL. He was going to a combine, and they showed the list of tests, and there was one backward skating test, and he came up to me. He was a first rounder in the NHL too. He goes, I need to work my backwards." I said, "Yeah, I know. I've been trying to get you to work your backwards skating, but you give me the stink eye every time because you're a forward. So now you're going to an important combine, and you see that there's backwards testing, and now you think you're going to fix it in a week. Well, that's not going to happen. But let's see what we got here." And he couldn't. He was horrible, horrible, horrible backwards skater. And he was like, "Oh man, this sucks." And I go, "Well, you probably should have been able to skate backwards. I mean, it's pretty obvious." And then last year with Guelph, there was one of the players, Pappas. They had I think 3 top D out, and they're just stuck. Yeah, they're just stuck. They needed for a couple games, and there was the COVID and all this stuff, and it was just like you need someone to play D. You can't call anybody else up and all that stuff. So Pappas went back and played like a good chunk of games on D, and he was really really good. And apparently I didn't talk to him about it, but I think he said that he actually liked it, and he played really
watching
well
those games
because he was a nice skater, moved the puck, got probably recognized there was a lot more offensive chances than you would imagine playing D, and the kid could skate. So to go back to that is I've said this before. It's like who in the heck would ever say, okay, we've got our U10 team, and you're a defenseman, period. And now for you, for here, for the rest of your life, you're a D because I said so. Because I'm Jean Guy, the coach, that says you're a D. I think you're a D, and that's it. That's all for the rest of your life. Or a centerman or a winger. Doesn't make any sense, right? So I really like the idea of, and again, it's the mandated thing. I think it should be a common sense thing, but to a certain degree, I think everybody should play every position.
Okay, so let's take when you coached Charlie's AA team in Essex, whatever. Were they 8, 9, 10?
They were 8, 9.
So okay, so you got a bunch of 9-year-olds. If it's not a rule as a coach for that team, would you still and nobody else is doing it? Do you still think that it would be like, okay, let's still shuffle around the positions every game?
I did it.
Did you?
Not every game. Not every game. Not every game.
And again, not trying to go extremes here. We're anti-extremes in our answers, but you would shuffle. The forwards would be D, D would be forwards. Depends on the situation. Guys would play different positions.
Well, we had 17 guys try out. This is a travel team, right? So there was, and I remember I said this a couple of weeks ago that I asked them, "Do you guys want to play hockey to win, or you just want to have fun?" Because there is a difference, right? So they said both, right? We want to win though, and I want to learn about hockey. So it's okay. So we taught them about hockey, but I had to see what someone would do on D and on forward. You have to. They're too young to not try it. And some guys would look like play a shift or two, or a game or 2 or 3 or 4 on D, and they just hated it because their head was like, "I want to go score goals," and that's fine. And then there's other guys that just naturally stay back, and they are defensive minded. But if you just say, "No, you're a forward, you're a D," and that's it for the rest of your life, then you'll never see that ever come out.
Well, that was one thing, because I was always a forward right from day one, and even now, if I'm in a scrimmage game or whatever, which never happens, but on the odd time where if I have to play D, wow, am I uncomfortable? Like, so uncomfortable. And I'm still fine, but I I have to actively think about what I'm doing, as opposed to when I'm playing forward, I just play. And I know where to go. I know how to cover position. I know how to cycle in and out, reading the play. On D, I don't know so much. Like I question. It's like, okay, do I go or do I stay? How do I, if we're,
Do I
yeah, do I
chase
chase?
here?
Is if we're locked
Yeah.
in, hemmed in our end, and I have a guy in the corner, and then the puck goes behind the net. Like, am I supposed to jump here, jump there? I don't know what to do. I don't know what the answers are, so it doesn't come naturally because I never got to play that position. And I'm a good backward skater, but positionally, I'm not aware. I don't know how to cover guys. There's too many things going on that I'm not used to seeing from that side of the puck. And then what a disadvantage that is as a forward, because now you don't know what the game is like from the defensive side, right? So even in terms of making plays as a forward, if you don't know what the D are likely to do in a certain situation, then you don't know how to use that to your advantage, right? So for me, if I don't know what it's like to be a defenseman in position X in the game, then maybe I'm not going to make the right play now because I don't know where he's likely to go, you know? So those things that come naturally just by understanding the game and having the hockey IQ, it cuts you off, right? Because you don't really know.
Yeah, 100%. And so like moving ahead a little bit, but I'm going to go back to that. So I've seen this so many times in the OHL and in pro where someone has to play forward or forward has to play D just because of circumstances and stuff like that. So if you've never done it before, like you never added value. But it doesn't make any sense as a youth to never play if you're just because you're a offensive player to never try being on D or vice versa. You'll be surprised what you get. Go ahead.
So whether it's a mandate or not, whether it's a rule or not, to a certain degree, as a coach, you still think that like there should be some cycling of positions. Like guys should be trying different things, even if maybe it doesn't put your team in an advantageous position, right? Because as a coach, the default for the most part is going to be you want to win the games, right? So if maybe you put a guy that's not as comfortable on D that game, then maybe you're putting your team in a less likely position to win or something like that. But that you think just that's a part of it, like that's just something you should be doing anyways, or you kind of have to read the situation of when to switch guys and that kind of thing.
Well, sometimes you have no choice. Like for example, take Liam when he played youth hockey for Pee Wee, Bantam, and whatever. He was always a D, but then they needed him at forward, and he was a great forward. And then he's playing junior right now, and he's a D, but he
Yeah,
can
still
play
does
forward,
play
so
forward.
that's an
That's
asset.
right.
I look at my kid. He started off as a youth because we needed a D, and he goes, "I'll do it." And he always heard me talking about D. Um, so he was a D for the first 5-6 years of hockey, and then he became a forward. So, and I think it's just advantageous to him. Like maybe that's why he's a decent penalty killer. I don't know, but it's advantageous. But the other thing is, um, you should try different positions because this is where I think is actually really important. You ever see a forward going up the ice and they think they're open and they want to pass and then they don't get the pass, or it's a shit, what they call a shit pass, and they bad body language, slam their stick or go, or they give the D shit and say like, man, I was open. Or do you ever see a forward um, getting a real soft rim where they get killed at the blue line and they look at their D like, what the hell, right? Well, if you've never played D, like I'm talking to forward now, if you've never played D, if you look from a different perspective now, and you put yourself in the D shoes where you were, and you go, oh, you might be yelling at him now because his lane is, I can't pass it up your ass. You would have got killed, or there was 3 guys and I couldn't even see through that lane, right? Or the reason that you got that soft rim is because I was on my backhand and I was getting forced. It was the only play I had, and you can't yell at me right now because it's all I can do. So now you have a little, I don't want to call it empathy, but you do understand, oh, okay, it's not just give me the puck, right? And then if a D's never played forward, it's the same thing,
Yeah.
right? It's
You don't know how shit it is to get a puck on the wall where the D's coming down to mash you. Like,
that's right. It's like, okay, maybe I have to start rimming that thing hard or high
if I can
or
do
whatever.
something else, I should.
Right. You get a different perspective of everything, right? So, and it's if you've only played wing your whole life, right, and all of a sudden you're you know, whatever you think it's, you know, forwards forward, but then you play center, you realize, oh man, this is a lot of skating to this forward thing. I'm like a defenseman. Anyways, it just changes your perspective. And if you've never been in those situations, you have no idea. You have no idea if you're a forward that's kind of lazy and you're giving your D shit, how important it is for you to come back and help them. Right. So that's why that's the other perspective that I love about playing other positions is that you just have a different respect for everyone's position and understanding of what different problems from that perspective where you would never know if unless you came back. You know, like if you're coming down and you're playing against someone really fast, like Connor McDavid is the extreme, but like whatever level you're playing with, and they're coming down on a D really, really quickly and cut to the middle or whatever, and you've never done that before, it's easy to criticize. But if you haven't been in that position, it's like, oh, okay, now I
Yeah,
get it.
for sure.